You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. It's Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the big show. We certainly appreciate you guys coming in, tuning in, being a part of the show, listening to the show, making and improving the quality of your guys' lives, because that's what the Chris Voss Show does. We improve your life, damn it, or else. I don't know what that means. Or we give you your money back, and we don't really charge for the show, so, you know, you can listen for free. So, I don't know, contact your local return desk. As always, folks, we really appreciate you being a part of the show. We bring you the CEOs, the billionaires, the White House presidential advisors, governors, Congress members, U.S. ambassadors, TV and print, Pulitzer Prize-winning journalists. You name it, they've been on the show. CNN, MSNBC, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, The Guardian, etc. You've heard them, seen them, and usually they step off TV, come see us, and go back to TV. And so by doing so, as the elite crowd of the Chris Voss Show, we like to call them, you embark on the Chris Voss Show Glow, which is the imparting of all the stories and knowledge that they shower upon you for the shower hour of the Chris Voss Show. I'm just having fun today making up stuff. So there you go. Anyway, guys, we have another great author on the show with us today. He's the author of the latest book, who's just came out August 30th, 2021. It's called Seen or Unseen. What is your choice? Dr. Clarence Riggins joins us on the show today. We're going to be talking about his book, his insights, and his life. And he certainly has led an interesting one. During the mid-1960s, the city and county that he grew up in was integrated. He and one of his brothers were two of the first 9 blacks who attended the integrated school for the first time in Jeffersonville, Georgia. He knew many citizens who were aware of how blacks were treated and seen in life, but they went along with the status quo. All the hard times are embedded in his mind, though it was only yesterday they attended the school. A portion of his writing in the book derives from over 20 years of military service in which Dr. Riggins retired as a first sergeant in the United States Army. His desire to write was further enhanced during his career as a mid-level manager with the United States Postal Service. A true highlight of his life achievements is becoming affiliated with the Kappa Alpha Psi Phi Incorporated, I think it is. Is that Psi or Phi?
Kappa Alpha Psi.
There you go. I flunked college. I flunked second grade, so I didn't make it to college. That's what happened there. And as his book, Seen or Unseen, What is Your Choice, was written, the author's underlying intentions is to stimulate readers who possess valuable insights and potential solutions to step forward and contribute, urging them not to turn a blind eye to pressing issues. Welcome to the show, Dr. Riggins. How are you?
Doing fine. I am excited and truly glad to be here.
And we're truly glad to have you as well. Do you want people to look you up on the internet? I think we talked about it on the show. Any place you want people to look up the internet, other than ordering from Amazon or wherever fine books are sold?
Well, the only social media that I'm on right now is Facebook. Mm-hmm. Like I say, I'm working with Blackstone printed media, in reference to a website. So the website has not come about yet. Mm-hmm. So just on Facebook, they keep me on Facebook.
There you go. And you can find it wherever fine books are sold, including Amazon. There'll be a link on the Chris Voss Show. So, Dr. Riggins, give us your 30,000 overview of what's inside the book, Seen or Unseen.
Well, the book, talked about some issues that was near and dear to me. Like the first chapter is a nation at large. Now I know at large mean a lot of things to a lot of people, but it meant to me that we have some things that are out of control right now, and we have people that can correct it and fix it, but they are turning a blind eye. It seems like they do not want to do it. Even as even as we speak of crime, I know there's got to be a way, that we can combat this crime.
Mm-hmm.
I am a firm believer, that if your crime escalate to a certain level, hey, I wouldn't have no problem with stopping and frisk.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say we give it some numbers. Say if it reached say 85% or something like that, that's your number.
Mm-hmm.
Then we can increase the police presence, stuff like that. But I just think our leaders are turning a blind eye to it, and people really can't go on with their life unless we correct the crime. We got to correct it.
Mm-hmm. Now you're talking
Also,
about racial discrimination and racism.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
During the time when me and my brother went to the school, as I stated, he and I were two of the nine,
Mm-hmm.
and things were kind of rough, And one thing that I found out during that time that I never knew was that blacks had odd bus numbers in Georgia, and whites had even numbers in Georgia.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I thought that was kind of like a target, because what happened was, when we started going to school, they gave us a bus, and all nine of us rode the same bus,
Mm-hmm.
and that bus had an odd number, and plus it was older than everything else. So I just think that somebody saw that, and that should have been corrected, because I think we were a target, just
Yeah.
because of the numbers.
Mm-hmm. And so you guys, where were you guys living in at the time again?
The name of the town that I grew up in is called Dry Branch, Georgia.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Georgia.
Dry Branch, Georgia. It's a real
Mm-hmm.
small community,
Mm-hmm.
probably about 15 to 20 miles south of Macon, Georgia. If you ever heard of Macon, Georgia,
Mm-hmm.
that's the largest city next to it.
Yeah. So, what was it like going through those times? I mean, was it scary? Was it, this was a pivotal time in America where I believe, was this during the time where John F. Kennedy had sent the military into to do Birmingham and stuff like that?
Yes, uh, about that same time, and also it was during the time when Martin Luther King was active as well.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of scary. I can remember the first day, and but it taught me, a lot of things, and actually coming out of that, my brother and I, both of us. Well, my brother, he's a pharmacist. He has a doctorate degree in pharmacist, and I,
Mm-hmm.
have a doctorate degree in management.
Mm-hmm.
So we did learn a lot, and when I left the school, after
Mm-hmm.
everybody had integrated, and I went into the army, I still had some funny thoughts, but the army kind of got me on track, because I realized, hey, you got to work with everybody,
Yeah.
So I learned that team concept. It was just there were certain things that went on at school. I didn't think we had any representation.
Mm-hmm.
The other teachers saw it, but it happened, from time to time. It happened a little bit too much.
There you go. How were you guys treated in school? I mean, were the students good to you, or polite to you, or?
Uh, the first 2 years was actually hard. You know,
Wow.
uh, I can remember the first day, that we got there. They was waiting outside in front of the school for us. So that was a shocking experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a thought then, even though I hadn't thought about writing a book during that time, but I was thinking, why would the officials, allow them to do that? They probably knew we was under enough pressure as it was.
Mm.
Uh, but as time went by, believe it or not, we gained some friends. Then we
Mm-hmm.
found out, hey, we can get along, because my brother and I, we were both on the basketball team, and we played baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a team concept. That kind of worked some things out for us.
There you go. I when I was a kid, I used to look at the photo. There was a bunch of cards that were being sent to me for history stuff, and I would look at the photo of Ruby Bridges. I think we tried to get her on the show. She put out a book recently or a while ago. But of Ruby Bridges, and I would see the hateful viciousness of just the faces in the crowd that were so against her and integrating schools. And I always wondered what that was like. I mean, intense bravery and just people spewing hatred at you, doing, throwing things at you and everything else. And so it must have been a pivotal time to grow up in during that era. And I imagine it shaped you in a lot of different ways.
Oh, it
Um,
did. It did. It did.
mhm. What was it like for your family? I mean, were you the first to go to school uh, growing up? What was your family like and growing up, and how much did school make a difference for you?
Actually, I grew up in a large family.
Hmm.
There was actually 12 of us. It was eight boys and four girls.
Wow.
And so being so large, of course, the ages, really had some span in it.
Hmm.
But me and my brother, he was 2 years older than me. Now he was the second one to go to college. My oldest brother was the first one to go to college. He was the first one to go to college. He was a teacher. He was a
Hmm.
military officer. And he also taught high school and college.
Hmm.
And my other brother, he was the second one, to go to college. And he went to Florida A&M, and then he went back, to get his doctorate degree in
Hmm.
pharmacy. Now, I did not start college right after high school. I
Hmm.
started college when I was in the military,
Hmm.
and actually, when I started going, I think I spent probably too much time in college. To be honest with you.
Well, you got to find what you like, right? And people, you have to find what works for you, and sometimes it takes longer than other things. There's a lot of people that go through college really quickly, and they don't like what their degree is, and then they got to flip it all around. So there it goes. So, what made you want to get a doctorate?
uh, well, my oldest brother, during the time when he got his commission
Mm-hmm.
in the military, they were recruiting blacks, and actually because he had a master's degree, he was automatically given the rank of '04 in the Navy,
Mm-hmm.
which is a lieutenant commander, and it's of course a major in the Army,
Mm-hmm.
and so he used to discuss that with me all the time. Say, hey, you're in the military. If you plan on staying, what you need to do. You need to think about college. But believe it or not, I had a 2 year scholarship. When I finished school, but for some reason I just wasn't ready, so I just decided to go to the Army. But later on, and that was a manager that I had. Well, he was a senior non-commissioned officer
Mm-hmm.
that I had. And when I was stationed down at Fort Benning, when it used to be Fort Benning, he told me, said, "Hey, look, you're in a good position right now. You don't have to work at night. You don't have to work on the weekend. And I'm advising everybody under my leadership, to start school. And once I started, it was history from there."
There you go. There you go. So you live your life. You've been living it. You retired from the military. What prompted you to want to write this book?
Basically, again, some of the things that happened to me, some of the things that I saw,
Mm-hmm.
when I was at the post office, there was a lot of things, that I saw, like,
Mm-hmm.
bringing people in. And I remember I had a manager that only had just high school diploma, but that manager used to always say to me, "And you have a PhD," and I'm saying, "Wow, that's kind of cruel," and that was another part of the seen and unseen. I'm saying, okay, I know we have some upper level managers that see this,
Mm-hmm.
but again, they're taking that blind eye and won't do anything about it, because overall, later on, they found out that this person wasn't even qualified, and the
Mm-hmm.
person wrecked the place. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, wrecked the place,
Uh-huh.
dismantled the place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, in your book, Sight Unseen, Seen or Unseen, give us a good description of what that actually means, because I've got an implication of it, but let's define it if you would.
Okay, I define it as, all right. There are happening, going on, whether it's in the world or whether it's in your state,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's in your neighborhood. That that's kind of contrary, to what should be happening. These people see it, but they make a choice, to 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 have a blind eye to it, to
There you
make
go.
it unseen.
So,
When
when they see racism, open racism, discrimination, that's what you're referring to when you say it.
uh, yes, racism is part of it,
Okay.
but even like living in your neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
when you're trying to keep a good neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
for example, let's say your neighbor comes in and the next thing they do is put up a basketball goal. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
everybody else sees that. Once it start, it could just start with the kids that live in the house. Next, here comes the kids in the neighborhood. And after the kids in the neighborhood, you got, kids coming from outside the neighborhood,
Mm.
you know, and neighbors see that, but again, sometimes, they just don't want to get involved because they don't want to hurt the neighbors feeling, where the
Mm-hmm.
basketball goal is located. But if it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't for the basketball goal, then of course sometimes, we could probably keep the neighborhood a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even with, sometimes, you go in a neighborhood and you see cars parked a certain way. To me, that's kind of an indication too. And again, people see it,
Mm-hmm.
but due to the fact they don't want to hurt anybody's feeling or they do not want to be involved, then they look at it as unseen. They won't get involved. And maybe sometime if somebody would go talk to these people, then maybe it would be better.
Definitely, definitely. So let's walk through the book. Chapter one, you open with a nation at large. Talk to us about what you're talking about in chapter one. Give us a tease out, of course, because we want people to buy the book.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. A nation at large. As I stated, I know a lot of the time when you kind of think about at large, you kind of think about politicians or whatever. You
Mm-hmm.
know, but it connotate things that are happening in the world. Just like our politician.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for the most part, I feel that they do not have our best interests, and I think that there has to be someone that's talking their language.
Mm-hmm.
Crime is part of a nation at large. Protest, is part of a nation at large. Because if you have listened here recently, a protest is nothing like it used to be. Protest is really kind of turned into violent situation, looting situation. And again, those people, whether it's the law or whether it's our leaders, they see that, but because they want to be so but politically correct at times, you know, they just let it go.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things in the United States right now, that should not be going on. And I know it can be stopped, or it could be curbed,
Mm-hmm.
but again, we let it stay at large, and
Mm-hmm.
and we don't do anything about it because we don't want to hurt, people feel it.
That, or maybe they don't want to fix the problem deep down or address it, or looking in the eye and say, well, we have a problem. It's easier to sweep it on the table and not think about it than to try and fix it. Maybe.
Yes, I think so. And sometimes, I think that's how they maintain the votes and stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
Because often, as a part of a nation at large, I often wonder, hey, we say these politicians are so bad, but they get reelected, year after year after year. the same one doing the same thing.
Yep. Well, evidently people support the way they behave. That seems to be some of their interest in some of the different politicians that are out there. You talk in chapter 2 about school integrations and reparations. Talk to us about what you're conveying in that chapter.
Uh, yes, as it was stated earlier, my brother and I, we started, at the integrated school
Mm-hmm.
in Jeffersonville, Georgia, the first year. Now, and today, you hear a lot about reparations, today,
Mm-hmm.
but the thing is, as I listen to these people, if they are not, at least a baby boomer, most of them, don't even know, what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But, you hear people asking for reparation, and sometimes I just think, that's a cop out, or that's a way to kind of get somebody to put their attention elsewhere,
Mm-hmm.
because they did not experience it,
Mm-hmm.
and I always ask, what if you're talking about reparation, what kind of standards, would we have?
Mm-hmm.
I know some of the leaders were talking about reparation, but there is no standard,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah, I think I was trying to kind of figure it out. I know San Francisco was working on something and a few
Yes.
different people, and so are you against reparations? Are you for reparations, or did you just discuss in the book, some of the variant um, topics and issues surrounding it?
Um, Well, I say both ways, because the thing is, how do you determine, how to pay someone?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these people that are talking on TV, none of that stuff has happened to them. I mean, when you see them protesting, or when they're in their group,
Mm-hmm.
most of the time, it is a racially diverse group,
Mm-hmm.
that's talking about it, but during the time, when my brother when my brother and I, was going to school, it was pretty much, black blacks alone, whites alone,
Mm-hmm.
and I can even recall, my grandparents, on both sides, my mother's parents and my daddy's parents, they were sharecroppers,
Mm-hmm.
so I mean, would that qualify?
Yeah.
So I just think, we've got to have some kind of standard if you say that you're going to do it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really buy that what California was talking about,
There you go.
none whatsoever.
You talk in chapter 5 about Black Lives Matter. Give us your thoughts on that.
Oh, well, that's one that's not near and dear to my heart. I tell you that.
So you're not a fan of Black
Oh,
Lives
no,
Matter?
no, no.
Okay.
I am not a fan. For
Mm-hmm.
one thing, I think the system was truly used during that time. When I was talking about, protesting, I mean, protesting was different, during the time when they did it. They collected a lot of money, and
Mm-hmm.
people saw
Yeah.
that they had lavish lifestyle. People saw that,
Mm-hmm.
and the areas, that they hit the hardest, areas that they burned and looted, they did nothing to replace it.
Yeah. And there seems to have been a lot of corporate money was thrown in it. I know that I think some people, I don't want to, and don't go Fox News on me, people. Jesus Christ. But they're really obsessed with Black Lives Matter to this day. When I go into my gym, it's like on the TV. I have to hear it while I'm in the locker room. Thank God I don't have to be in there for a long time. But there was some financial abuse that took place where the donations went to the wrong people, or the people misappropriated it. And I think some of that has been proven in court. But it's certainly not indicative, I think, of the whole thing. I think Black Lives Matter came out of that time where there was a lot of abuse going on. People were sitting in their homes and seeing the abuse on TV because of COVID. And there were other different forces going on in the world with very racial administration. Saying there are good people on both sides, uh, which was contributing a lot of it. And then George Floyd, of course.
Yeah.
Were these some of the things that prompted you to write the book?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm glad you said something about George Floyd, because I did want to mention that.
Yeah.
Now I truly believe, that there's no way in the world, that you should have your knee on a person's neck on live television. Everybody is seeing you. I think that was wrong. But on the flip side of that, this Black Lives Matter, I think that they truly took advantage of that. Truly took advantage of that. You
To
know,
fundraise and
yeah,
then
to
march for.
fundraise, and you're talking about 90 something $1 million.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, people are getting paid, hundreds of thousands of dollars, or going on a $1 million shopping spree. You know, we see that, but there are people that still, to this day, that donate, to that organization and still believe in it. I mean,
Mhm.
I just cannot see what Black Lives Matter has done for blacks. And
Hmm.
that's my honest opinion about it.
There you go. It looks like their foundation, yeah, it took in $90 million in 2020. It's now worth about the end of the year in I think in 2022 with 30 million in assets. And yeah, it's kind of, I don't know where a lot of this stuff went, but that's what your feeling is on it, and what you think about it. One of the other things in your chapter, you talk about white flight in chapter 7. Tell us what that's about.
Okay, a white flag, it's like, you living in a neighborhood, neighborhood might start out to be good, like I was kind of taking two neighborhood where I live, for example. Uh, the first one, when we got our house there, that was probably a 50 uh,
Mm-hmm.
ratio and stuff. And the second one, that was probably 70% white, and 30% black. But as the white moved out, for some reason, it seemed like it would always replaced by a black,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I think I said, wow, we marry each other, we become good friends or whatever, but it still seems like, we can't live beside each other for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing that goes on with the gentrification of suburbs and how they're designed and everything else. We had Benjamin Harold on the show, who wrote the book called Delusioned: Five Families in the Unraveling of America's Suburbs. And they did a deep dive in the history of suburbs and kind of how they're built, how they're designed, who they're targeted to, and then how they, you know, gentrify over time and, go through this whole gentrification process of different things. But it is interesting, and he talks about how the racial narrative of how they're actually designed and distributed and stuff is plays into what you're talking about. The podcast isn't public yet, for those who are wondering. I believe it goes public sometime in mid-January. That we're holding it for the launch of the book.
Okay.
But yeah, there's some I can validate through what he's talked about and things I've personally seen. It's just one of those things.
And
So
can I
go
say
ahead.
something else
Yes,
about,
please.
really, I always thought, that as you have neighborhoods in a city,
Mm-hmm.
and I would think, that the, city council, or, the city's leadership or whatever, would monitor, some of that stuff. But I know,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of them, they know the makeup of some of these neighborhoods, but when these new neighborhoods are built,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I would I would hope, that there would be someone, to monitor that and try to find the reason why,
Mm-hmm.
because I tell anyone, I I really don't want to live in just a black neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer to live in a mixed neighborhood, and
Yeah.
that's the same way I feel about church. I know church is not a part of this, uh, but somebody need to monitor that,
Mm-hmm.
and give a reason, to why, people feel that, hey, if this race moved beside me, it's time to move.
Yeah.
You know.
The it would be interesting to see what the dynamics are between that. Why white people are moving out, and maybe black people are there's some discrimination or career things, their career trajectories, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe that's something that someone should look at. Um, I know. We had Eddie Glaude Jr. on the show, and we talked about his book Begin Again with James Baldwin, and we talked about how you know, real estate redlining by lenders for
Yes.
so many decades had separated us as people living together, and the more it's pushed us apart, or the more we lived apart from each other, the harder it is for us to understand each other and our struggles. And uh, the other issue was um, I can't remember what it was now. I've sidelined off of that segue. But basically, it has. Martin Luther King, of course,
Yeah.
famously said, "We don't pray together on Sundays." In the '60s, and there was a separation where there was the white churches and the black churches, and so you bring up a good point to that too, and that still seems unresolved to this day, even though that was what in the '60s, so
Yeah.
40, 60 years ago. So, what do you hope people come away from reading your book? What do you hope that they draw from it?
Well, I'm hoping, that the book will kind of help them open their eyes,
Mm-hmm.
on some of the things, that they see,
Mm-hmm.
and they turn a blind eye. But I hope this right here is a motivator. I
Mm-hmm.
hope it's an eye opener. That hey, that's going on in my neighborhood, or you know what, I see that every day. But let's do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
I won't, seen or unseen. What is your choice? Hopefully to be one of those books, that everybody want to read. Especially adults. You
Mm-hmm.
know, uh, to take each one of those chapters
Mm-hmm.
and see how these chapters affect their lives. What are they doing? To make things seen versus turning the blind eye. You got to get involved in some of these things. There's a lot of people that don't want to get involved, and those are the
Mm-hmm.
people that I call the unseen folks. But
Mm-hmm.
they got to be a part of this fight. They got to be a part of this solution.
Mm-hmm. If
Yeah.
you're not a part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And it might have been Martin Luther King that said the one thing that can allow evil to reign is for good men to do nothing. I think that might have been him. Someone had said it. So there you go. It's been interesting to have you on the show. Thank you for coming on. Give us your final thoughts as we go out.
Also, when I was kind of looking up some information, I ran across, it was a picture of you and a lady called Alexandra Hudson.
Hmm.
And it was interesting because the name of it was "Our Civilization, Our Democracy, and Our Society Depends on That." And I think that's a good fit for seen or unseen. You know,
Hmm.
when you get involved, you can change things. Whether it be our politicians, or whether it be the white flight, or whether it be what happened to the neighborhood. You know, uh, they just need to open their eyes and get involved. If we are to change things, because right now, I think it's going to be a long time before there's a turnaround
Hmm.
in our society, and I'm hoping that as people read, seen or unseen, like I say, it might be an aha moment for them. Aha moment. To tell them that, hey, it's time for me to do something.
Hmm. Definitely. We all have to be a part of the solution
Yes.
and work together because rising tide lifts all boats. So there you go. Well, Dr. Riggins, it's been wonderful to have you on the show and very insightful. Thank you very much for coming on and tell us your story.
I'm so happy, and I mean, I was dreaming about being here last night, and of course, I was nervous today because I had my computer and everything set up. I was ready to go, and I said, hey, everything is looking good. And then when I went to it, something happened. My wife saw it too, and
Yeah,
I saw it, and I said, hey, this is seen, so we got to do something.
there you go. You got her done.
Yeah,
Well,
I
thank
had
you
to
very
go.
much for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, truly, truly, thank you for having me.
Thank you. And folks, order up the book wherever fine books are sold. You can get it on Amazon. There'll be a link on the Chris Voss Show. Seen or unseen, what is your choice? And remember, the most important thing is that good men stand up and do something and say something, and we say enough with the bullshit. It's time for our society ills to get wrapped up. So thanks, Midas, for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com, Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com, Chris Voss, YouTube.com, Chris Voss, and all those crazy places we're at on the internet. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe, and we'll see you guys